everyone, welcome back to English Time Podcast with Emma and Jack. I'm Emma, and I'm so happy you're tuning in today.
And I'm Jack. If you're feeling nervous about speaking English, don't worry. You're in the perfect place to learn.
Exactly. We're not here to make things complicated. We want to help you learn English in a relaxed, fun way at your own pace.
This podcast is perfect for beginner to advanced learners. Today's episode is great for A1 to C1 levels. We'll take you step by step through real conversations, useful vocabulary, grammar explanations, and practical tips.
And today's topic is talking about family. Whether it's your mom, your brother, your cousin, or even your pet, family is a topic we all talk about.
All right, let's start with our beginner conversation.
All right, Jack, I'm curious. Do you spend a lot of time with your family?
Not as much as I'd like. My parents live in another city, so I don't see them every day. But we talk on the phone every weekend. It's a good way to catch up.
That's nice. I live with my parents, so I see them almost every day. We have dinner together almost every night. It's kind of a tradition in my family.
That sounds awesome. What do you guys talk about at dinner?
Oh, we talk about everything. Usually we share stories from our day. Sometimes my dad repeats the same old stories, but it's fun. I think it's his way of keeping the conversation going.
My dad does that too. I think all dads do that, right? They love telling their classic stories.
For sure. It's funny how they tell them like they're brand new every time.
Okay, let's break down some of the words and phrases we just used. These are super useful for talking about family. Let's start with usually.
Right. So, usually means something happens most of the time, but not always. For example, I usually go for a walk in the morning. This means you do it almost every day, but maybe not every single day.
Exactly. And we also use the phrase almost every night. This means you do something very often, but not always. Like, we eat dinner together almost every night. It's a great way to say something happens a lot.
Yes. And we also said again and again. This is the fun one. It means something happens many times, sometimes more than you want. For example, my dad tells the same joke again and again. So it's like it happens so often that it gets a little funny or even annoying.
I think everyone has a family member who does that. But it's part of the fun, right?
Now, let's talk about some of the grammar we used. We're going to start with simple present tense because we use this tense a lot in daily life.
Right. The simple present tense is for things we do regularly or things that are true all the time.
For example, when I said, I live with my parents, that's simple present. It's something that's always true. The formula is subject plus verb, base form. So, I live. It's a habit or routine, and we use it a lot when talking about family or daily activities.
Exactly. And when I said, we talk on the phone every weekend, that's also in the simple present. It's something we do regularly.
Good point. And don't forget, we add s at the end of the verb when the subject is he, she, or it. For example, she lives in another city. But for I, you, we, and they, no as needed. Example, I eat dinner with my family.
Super important. Keep practicing that, and you'll be using the simple present like a pro.
Okay, we've talked about vocabulary and grammar. Now let's talk about how to sound even more natural when speaking. One trick is using linking words.
Yes, linking words are great because they help your sentences flow. For example, when I said, we talk on the phone every weekend, it sounds smooth because of the linking word and or but.
Exactly. Linking words help connect your ideas. So instead of saying, I live with my parents, I see them every day, you can say, I live with my parents and I see them every day.
Nice. Another tip. Don't stress too much about perfect pronunciation. Just keep speaking and practicing. You'll improve naturally over time.
Ready to level up? Let's move to intermediate.
Emma, do you think your family is a big influence on who you are today?
Definitely, Jack. I think my family has shaped a lot of my values. For example, my parents always taught me the importance of honesty and hard work. It's something I try to carry with me every day.
That's great. My family has had a huge influence on me as well. But sometimes I feel like certain family expectations can be a bit overwhelming. Like, my parents always wanted me to follow a specific career path. It took me a while to figure out what I really wanted to do.
I totally understand. It's tough when you feel like you have to meet everyone's expectations. But at the same time, I think family support can be really motivating. It gives you confidence when you know they have your back, even if you're making difficult decisions.
Exactly. I feel the same. There's always a balance between family expectations and personal growth. But I think in the end, it's important to follow your own path, even if that means disagreeing with your family sometimes.
Yeah, it's a tough balance, but it's all part of growing up, right? I think we learn a lot from those challenges too.
Let's take a look at some new vocabulary from our conversation. First, we used shaped. This is the past form of the verb shape, meaning to influence or determine something.
Right. So when I said my family has shaped a lot of my values, I mean my family has influenced my values and beliefs. For example, my experiences as a child shaped the person I am today.
Next, we used overwhelming. This means something that is too much to handle, or something that makes you feel stressed or unable to cope.
Exactly. So when I said family expectations can be overwhelming, I meant that sometimes it feels like too much pressure. For example, the amount of work I have this week is overwhelming.
And we also mentioned motivating, which is when something encourages or inspires you to take action. For example, her success story is really motivating to me.
One of the things we did in our conversation was use gerunds and infinitives. So when I said I try to carry with me the values, that's an example of using an infinitive to talk about intention or purpose.
Right. The infinitive is used when you want to show why you do something. It's like saying to plus base form of the verb. For example, I want to help my family, or she decided to travel abroad.
On the other hand, when we use gerunds, we're talking about activities or things you enjoy doing. For example, I enjoy helping my family, or he loves reading books. So in the sentence, I enjoy helping my family, helping is a gerund.
Exactly. And sometimes the verb you use determines whether you use the infinitive or the gerund. For example, verbs like enjoy go with gerunds, and verbs like want go with infinitives. Let's take our conversation even further. Emma, do you think the idea of family responsibility changes as we get older?
That's an interesting question. I believe it does change. As children, we rely heavily on our parents for guidance and support. But as we grow older, the responsibility shifts. We start taking on roles like taking care of our parents or helping out more with family matters.
I agree. I think as we mature, we realize that being part of a family isn't just about receiving support, but also about giving it. Especially as our parents age, we start to feel the weight of that responsibility more.
Definitely. It's not always easy, though. Sometimes there can be a lot of pressure, especially when you're trying to balance family obligations with your personal life. But I think it's important to find a healthy balance between giving support and taking care of yourself.
Exactly. And sometimes it feels like there's an unspoken expectation to always be there for family, even when it's not possible. But I think it's important to set boundaries and make sure you're also taking care of your own well-being.
That's so true. Family is important, but so is our own happiness and health. It's all about balance and being able to communicate openly with your loved ones.
Let's dive into some advanced vocabulary. First, we used shift. This means to change or move from one place or state to another.
Exactly. When I said, the responsibility shifts, I meant that the responsibility changes over time. For example, the focus of the project shifted to a new goal.
Next, we used unspoken. This means something that is understood without being said out loud. For example, there's an unspoken rule in our family that we help each other out.
And we also mentioned boundaries. This refers to limits you set for yourself or others, especially to protect your time or energy. For example, it's important to set boundaries in your relationships to avoid burnout.
Now let's talk about modal verbs like should, must, and ought to. We use these when giving advice or suggestions. For example, I think it's important to find a healthy balance, and you should communicate openly with your loved ones.
That's right. We use should when we want to give advice or recommendations. For example, You should take a break if you're feeling stressed.
Exactly. And must is a bit stronger. We use it when something is necessary or required. For example, you must take care of yourself before helping others.
And ought to is similar to should, but it sounds a little more formal. For example, you ought to speak to your family about your feelings. Wow, we've covered a lot today, from the impact of family on our lives to how our responsibilities change as we grow older. I hope you found today's conversation interesting and helpful.
We really did dive deep. Whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced learner, there's always something new to learn. Keep practicing, and make sure to use these new words and grammar points in your own conversations.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We have more exciting topics coming your way.
Yes, please do. And we'd love to hear from you. If you liked what you heard, leave us a review, share the podcast with friends, and let us know what topics you'd like to hear about in future episodes.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. Keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Take care, everyone. See you soon.